My name is Anja from Alemania, and well, I like, if you've seen me a little bit this event or also other events, I like hats. I wear very often hats. I like colors, and I like fruits and vegetables. I'm vegan, and I love Mexico. And this is also the reason why I decided about a year and a half ago to focus a little bit more on Nahuatl, which is an indigenous language from Mexico. And today I would like to give you the opportunity, actually, to travel with me to Mexico. What I do usually in life is I love creating language learning methods, and I try to do it in a very creative way always. And what we're going to do today is also a little bit a creative way, because it's a virtual trip. In German, we have actually the perfect word for that in German. We call it Traumreise. Have you heard about that? Traumreise? Yeah, so exactly. It means literally translated dream trip or dream travel, and this is exactly what we're going to do here. So I really want you, at least in the beginning, not to just look at the pictures, but also to really, try your imagination as well. All right, so first of all, why Nahuatl? Well, Mexico has over 60 languages. Obviously Spanish, we all know that. But also other languages from different regions. And you can see here on the map. So the central part of Mexico is a lot about Nahuatl. So you see here the southeast part of the country is the Mayan languages, the Mayan dialects. And the center is a lot about Nahuatl. Yeah, Nahuatl is a very beautiful language. You will also listen to it later. Officially, there is 1.5 million speakers. Well, some statistics even say 2 million. But what I want to show you today is actually that many people don't know how many Nahuatl words they actually know. And I know that you guys know also a couple of words in Nahuatl if you know English. Because especially in Mexico, in Mexican Spanish, many words come from Nahuatl. Also, many places have still names in Nahuatl. Food is still often in Nahuatl and comes often also from Nahuatl. So this is all what I want to show you today, and I want to invite you to come with me to Mexico today. This dream trip, what we usually call it, so you usually close your eyes, and you do that because that way you don't get distracted. You don't get distracted by the door that is going to open. You don't get distracted by me. If you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes during this trip, during this travel to Mexico, then please just focus on something. Look at something here in this room if you don't want to close your eyes, but I recommend you to really close your eyes. And I will lead you through this trip to Mexico. Okay, so now imagine it's not cold, it's warm. And I would like to, before we get started, I'd like to invite you to breathe first. Nice, Steve is doing that very well. Good example. All right, so now if you feel ready, close your eyes or focus on something that is not me and not the presentation. It is 2019. You just spent a week in La Ribera Maya. After a week of enjoying the most beautiful beaches, white sand and crystal clear blue water, You feel now ready to discover different parts of Mexico. Your flight today goes from Cancun to Puebla, a state and city with history, tradition, culture, natural beauty, with touches of art and buildings full of colors. You're very lucky today. You got the window seat. The plane is about to land, and you start seeing the lights of houses, offices, and streetlights of the fourth biggest city of Mexico. You see the shape of mountains, smaller ones and bigger ones. And while approaching those lights, you fly through the sunrise and watch the mountains forming beautiful shades under the Mexican sun. One of those hills stands out of the rest. It is the biggest one. And what is that? A cloud covering the summit? This gray thing is getting bigger and bigger, and you start realizing this is not a cloud. This is smoke. Turns out that big mountain is an active volcano that just erupted. And right next to that volcano, another one with a very interesting shape. Welcome to Popocatépetl and Iztaccíhuatl. Okay, I'd like you to open your eyes again just for a second. This was the first part. Were you able to imagine everything? Yes? Okay, good, I'm glad. Did it look like that? No. Good, if not, this is perfect, because this is exactly what I want you. I want you to use your imagination as well, to picture things. And now you see the picture. This is actually a picture that I took out of the plane when I landed maybe a year ago. And these are our two famous volcanoes, El Popocatépetl and Iztaccíhuatl. Those names are Náhuatl and Popocatépetl. So you see the two parts. Popocoa means to smoke, humear, and Tepetl, mountain. What you will see quite often is that, a little bit like German, so those of you who know German, in Nahuatl as well, when you have the endings, and when you combine two words, you just put them together instead of saying off, like you would do it in English, or de in French, or in Spanish. You put them together and you just, skip the endings, basically. And so Popocatépetl is composed of those two words, Popocani and Tepetl. Same for Iztaccíhuatl, the mountain that is the white woman. So we have Iztac, white, and you will see it also in a lot of words, cities, and also dishes in Mexico. And Cihuatl as well. There is even a brand called Cihuatl. I think it's a jewelry brand. So a lot of brands also use Nahuatl names nowadays. And there's the story of those two volcanoes. So the Popocatépetl is active. It's really, I see the eruption, I think, every day from my place. And the story is that thousands of years ago, Popocatépetl and Iztaccíhuatl, they fell in love. And Popocatépetl had to go to the war. And the family of Iztaccíhuatl was against this relationship. And so they told her that Popocatépetl had died. And Iztaccíhuatl was so mad and so sad that she killed herself. The problem is that Popocatépetl was not dead. And when he came back, he got really, really mad when he heard the story. And so he killed himself, but he was so mad that he remained the active and dangerous volcano, while this is Iztaccíhuatl, the sleeping woman. And even the shape a little bit, even when you go up hiking there, which is a perfect hiking spot, they even call the different summits like the knees, the chest. And so this is also sleeping woman, the shape of the sleeping woman. All right. So are you ready to continue a little bit our adventure, our trip to Mexico? Good. Well then, in this case, I'd like you to close your eyes again, or if you don't want to close your eyes, then try to focus on something. Okay, we breathe again. Ready. You have arrived at the airport of Puebla. Your next stop is the magical town Cholula, where you can find the biggest pyramid of the world. The town is just 20 minutes away from the airport. You decide to take a taxi. It's warm outside. Your phone says 25 degrees Celsius. You open the window to feel the fresh air. The smell of delicious food gets to your nose. Smiling men and women selling their hot beverages and food on the street. It is 8 a.m. The busy road is full of people sitting down on the plastic chairs to get a quick breakfast right next to the road. The taxi driver stops at the traffic light. He opens his window when a guy with juices approaches the car. ¿Quieres un jugo? He asks you. You look at the different colors of the juices. The guy who sells the juices understands that you have no clue, and he explains. Jugo de naranja, mandarina y jugo verde con nopal y piña. 20 pesos el medio litro, 35 pesos el litro. You point at the green one and pay him. Then you realize 35 pesos for 1 liter of green juice with pineapple and nopal cactus. Delicious. And this is less than $2. This is the best breakfast. 15 minutes later, you arrive at your friend's place. His name is Ángel, like the angel. He opens the door and lets you in. You smell chocolate and alcohol. What is that? The corridor from the entrance brings you to the living room. You see pictures everywhere. Son fotos de mi familia, the friend says. You can feel the importance and value of family in this country. You would like to sleep a bit. It has been a long night for you. But the moment you enter the living room, you realize your friend is not alone. Wait, they couldn't wait to meet you. This is mi brother Pedro, and he's mi cuate Miguel, your friend says. My mom is in the kitchen. She's preparing mole for you, but first, here's a little welcome snack. You've tried guacamole before, haven't you? And have you tried mezcal? Mole? Wow, you know guacamole. But what is mole? And what is mezcal? All right. Welcome back to reality. Welcome back to Japan. Welcome back to Fukuoka. This was the second part. Again here, were you able to imagine the situation? Yes? All right. You want mole? Okay, maybe we'll find some here in Fukuoka, who knows? All right. Okay, well, yeah, okay, so how many words from Nahuatl have you recognized if you were counting? Muy bien. Great. Did you hear way? Way? Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Again here, we use Nahuatl every day in Mexico and also in other countries. So first of all, have you heard about this word way in Spanish? No? They use it every day. So way is used. Yeah, it's a little bit like in French they would say mec. And in English maybe dude, yeah, dude, So basically they use it to address someone. So I would say way, and then I would start my sentence. They even say it to women, not only men, but they also use it to talk about others. So this way over there, for example, also very, very common. And way, when you listen to a Mexican speaking Spanish, it could be that he uses this word, and I'm not kidding, in every sentence 2 to 3 times or more. I'm not kidding. Listen to Mexican Spanish and you will hear that. And this comes from Náhuatl, and this is why it's not used in other countries, and for example, not in Spain. Way means big. So basically they address someone as a big person. Not big in terms of like fat, but big in terms of like, I appreciate you, I guess.
Isn't it good
Good way. What is good? Que onda way? What was? Que onda is yeah. This is also an expression, but yeah, it goes often together. Que onda is like what's up, right? And then they put this way. So what's up, dude, right? All right, and then we also have the word mi cuate. So you could maybe hear that when they were in this living room, they were presenting to, or your friend Angel presented to two more people, and one of them was the brother, and this is not necessarily the brother. It took me, well, a long time to understand that they're not all brothers and primos when they say that. So they're not really brothers or cousins when they present the primo or un brother. But rather friends, good friends. And another way to say good friend, which is very, very much used, is mi cuate. And cuate, and I'm pretty sure that not even all Mexicans know that it has an Náhuatl origin. It comes from Mecuatl, and that means a twin brother or twin sister. And so again, here it's a very strong relationship. You relate to that person as a good friend, usually. Okay, let's talk about food. All right, so you all know guacamole, right? Did you know that guacamole comes from Nahuatl? Well, the word that has Nahuatl origins. So we have aguacate, avocado, and this is even in English, right? So even adapted to the English, or, well, English has taken the Nahuatl word and adapted it a little bit, aguacate. So you hear already, there is a lot of endings in TL, right? And the TL is a little bit hard to pronounce because you kind of blow the air out of, well, yeah, exactly. So aguacate. And then we have muli, which means sauce. So putting the two of them together and then changing it a little bit over time, I mean, languages also changed over time, it became guacamole. And it basically means avocado sauce, literally translated. And then we have also tomato. Tomate, or also in Mexico often said jitomate because they make the difference between red tomatoes and green tomatoes, and usually the red tomatoes jitomate, but also tomate is fine. And tomate comes from tomal, fat, and atl. And atl means agua. And atl is actually a very, very important word because you would find it in like many, many city names, for example, regions also that have a lot of water. There is very often the word atl somewhere in the name of the region. And so basically tomato means fat water in the end. And we have translated it to many other languages. And yeah, someone told me that I think in Chinese, what does it literally mean? The red fruit or something like that? I found this very interesting. Someone told me this yesterday. Those of you who speak Mandarin.
In Mandarin.
Yeah.
It's called 西红柿. It means the west, red, and the
So the western red. Okay, yeah. I found this very interesting when I heard this yesterday. So yeah, the original word Náhuatl means fat water. And now you were saying that you want mole now. So you know already that mole, it also comes from muli, which is a sauce. And in Puebla we have the very famous mole poblano. And that's a sauce that is usually, not in my case because I'm vegan, but usually it's prepared with chicken. So chicken, and then on top this delicious sauce, and it's made out of chocolate, but it's not really sweet because, well, it wasn't Mexico if there weren't any Cheetos in there, right? So there is the mole poblano. You know that muli means sauce, and so since it's made out of chocolate, I also wanted to explain you the origins of chocolate. So it comes also from Nahuatl, and very often the origins are widely discussed. So there is also other countries claiming, no, chocolate is not from Nahuatl, it comes from other languages. So this is obviously always a discussion, right? I just present you now the way I have learned it, and So basically, again, you have atl. You already know atl now, water, and chocuatl. And chocuatl stands for bitter. So basically, it's bitter water. And well, I mean, chocolate without sugar is actually bitter, right? And not sweet. So that's also one of the reasons. And when they started using the chocolate, they usually use it as a drink. And this is also why it's related to water, because it was, well, mixed with water in the end. Okay, so one last thing that you have heard maybe about, you remember the smell of alcohol when you entered the house? And remember the name of the alcohol? Mezcal, un mezcalito. What is mezcal? Yeah, from Oaxaca and also many other regions. Puebla is also one of the regions. So there is, I think, 4 states in Mexico that have officially the right to call their alcohol as well mezcal. So it comes from the 2 words metl, maguey, and this is the plant. It's the same plant that you use for tequila, but then for tequila, the distillation process is a little different. But basically, it's this plant that you see on the bottom right. And ixcali, cooked. And so basically, it's a cooked maguey. And you see it on top. It's, well, for me, it has nothing to do with that. You all know the taste of tequila, I guess, right? Most of you, yes. For me, it has nothing to do with tequila. It's completely different. I prefer mezcal over tequila, well, definitely. And you usually drink it as a shot, and it's served usually with oranges. It's also a very old drink. So the Náhuatl speakers from the Aztec empires, and even before the Aztecs, they knew how to make good drinks, I'd say. Okay, are you ready for the next part of our trip? Okay, this is the last adventure. So please close your eyes again, very last time. Breathe in and out. All right, and we continue our trip in Mexico. After the delicious green juice, the yummy mole for breakfast, and a couple of mezcales, you drive again 2 hours to visit the pyramids of Teotihuacan, an ancient city that is famous for the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon. It is hot outside. Once you arrive, you realize there is no shades at all. Luckily, they sell hats every 5 meters. You get a straw hat. Gracias. You're now ready to climb up the Sun Pyramid. Walking towards the massive pyramid, you hear strange sounds. What is that? You turn your head around and see people with wooden instruments everywhere. The sound of those instruments is similar to the sound of wild animals. You have now arrived at the Sun Pyramid. Wow, the stairs are very steep. This looks difficult. And it's a long way up, but let's do this. You start counting the stairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 98, 99, 100. Oof. Short break is needed. Wow, the view from here is amazing. And you haven't even reached the top. Not even half of it. Let's continue. But what's wrong with your physical condition? You feel tired. You need another break before taking pictures from the top. While you're sitting there on this impressive old pyramid, you realize, wow, this is very high. Might this be the reason why you feel a little dizzy? All right, let's go down now and visit the rest. Your friend Angel had promised you something relaxing afterwards. After having visited the second pyramid, called the Moon Pyramid, you're ready to take off. The next place is only a few minutes away. Angel is driving and says, you will love the temazcal. It is great. What is temazcal? Well, the moment you arrive at the garden of a friend of Angel's father, you see a big tent. Or is it a small house? The guy who's going to lead you through the ceremony explains, we start around the fire, being thankful for the earth and everything that the earth has to offer us. When you come inside the temazcal, you kneel on your knees, kiss the earth, and ask to be on the belly button of the earth. The temazcal represents the belly button and the rebirth of the participants. It is time to enter. It's dark inside, and the only thing you see is the smoke of the burning stones. The hot stones create a heat that is almost too strong for you. You're invited to sing chants, to breathe slowly, and allow yourself to be purified and healed. After 30 minutes inside the temazcal, it feels like a release. Every problem you had brought with you to Mexico, problems at work, anger that you felt, all this is gone, and you feel a new energy. Wow, what a great experience. After this great experience, we're going to the last destination of our trip. Xochimilco, 30 minutes drive away from our temazcal. What is happening here? You see orange flowers everywhere. These flowers are called cempasúchil, Angel explains. They're beautiful. The Day of the Dead is approaching, and people start building their altars. You line up for boats tour in Xochimilco. Mariachis are playing music. Everyone is singing. With you on the boat are Angel and his two friends that you had met earlier, and Mezcal, of course. The boat seems to be a party boat. What's happening here? Is this the way death is celebrated? Drinking mezcal and singing with mariachis? All right. Again, hello Fukuoka, hello Japan, welcome back. All right. So again here, a couple of words in Náhuatl. Remember them a little bit? Xochimilco, muy bien. Ajá. Cempasúchil, the flowers. Remember the name, the city of the pyramids? First place? Teotihuacan. Muy bien. All right. Temazcal, exactly. These are here the first two words that we have. So, first of all, Teotihuacan is a place that is really, well, magic, I think. Really magic. It is impressive, the pyramids. Teotihuacan was not built by the Aztecs, but the Aztecs have used it later. And, well, research does not really tell whether it's the Aztecs who gave the name Teotihuacan or whether it was already the name before. But it's most likely that it was the Aztecs. So Teotihuacan, Teo, stands for God, and can is always a particle for places. So whenever you go to Mexico and you see a place ending in can, then you know this is, that means that it's a place. Or a word ending in can, then you know that it's a place. Yeah, so remember those instruments that represent animal sounds? These are flautas. How do you say flautas? Flutes, yeah, flutes. Flutes, and they are actually sometimes even a little bit annoying. But this is also something that represents also, ancient culture. Apparently, they used it to either attract animals or to send them away. So depending on what kind of animal sound they were doing. And remember that when you were on top of this amazing pyramid, you felt a little dizzy. Remember that? What do you think? I mean, maybe you know it's It's about half an hour from Mexico City. How high is that? In terms of 2 kilometers, not bad. Good. We have an expert here. Wow, yeah, it's about 2,300 meters. So basically, I remember, because Puebla and Mexico City is more or less the same, and I remember first time in 2014 when I moved to Mexico and I went for a run, and it was, wow. I just couldn't believe that you really feel the difference. 2,300 meters. Yeah. And so after the Teotihuacan trip, we went to a temazcal. Have you ever heard about temazcal before? Yeah? You, yes? Okay. So the color is pink because everything is colorful in Mexico. But it could be any color. Sometimes there is no color. It's just the stones from the volcanoes that are used usually. How did you guys imagine this? Colorful or not? Or did you imagine it a little bit in this shape or completely different? Different, yeah? Interesting. But that's nice as well. This is just one shape. That could also look a little different, actually. Yeah, so very beautiful meaning of this temazcal. Nowadays, they use it in like resorts in La Ribera Maya next to Cancun and Tulum. They use it a little bit as a spa, which I find very funny because, yeah, it can be used as a spa, but the origins are very different, right? It's a ceremony. It's really to clean your body and your spirit. But yeah, 2019 can also be a spa, right? So temazcal, the meaning comes from temas, which is bañarse, so bath, and cali. And cali is also a very important word because you would find it in many other parts, and it's usually you see the cal only of the house, and that means a house to be clean or to clean yourself in this house. So this is what temazcal means. And so whenever you go to Mexico, I would definitely recommend you to try this. It can be very strong. It depends a little bit. Every ceremony is very different. I have done a couple, and they were all very, very different from each other. But it's definitely an experience to do that. Next one, after that, we went to the beautiful place of Xochimilco. Xochimilco, you have seen the beautiful flowers here. That was very, very beautiful, I think, the flowers. I will show you the flowers also in the next picture. But first of all, Xochimilco. So again, you have a particle for places, which is co. And then you have Xochitl, which means flower. And actually, there is also many women called Xochitl in Mexico. So basically, that's a Náhuatl name that means flower. And Mili, fertile. So basically, it's the fertile place for flowers. Yeah, and here you see cempasúchil, so the flowers that are used for the Day of the Dead, so Dia de los Muertos. And here we have the Xochitl, again, flower, transformed a little bit into Suchil. And we have Sempa, that comes from the numbers Sempuali, 20 or 20. And Sempuali or 20 in general in Nahuatl is an important number. If you study the numbers a little bit, you will see why. All right, now, have you ever heard a little bit of the Dia de los Muertos and how it is celebrated, that you celebrate death in Mexico? I'd like to show you a short video, but first of all, let's review a little bit the words. So whenever you go to Mexico, I'd recommend you, if you want to know a little bit of Nahuatl, to travel and to actually know a little bit what the places mean, I recommend you to learn Tepetl, which is mountain. So Popocatépetl, but many, many other places have Tepetl included. Atl, and often you see only the A, because the ending is TL. But still, you can see it in Xocuatl and Tomate también. Cali, also a word that is, in many words, Xochitl, and can or co, particles for places. There is more particles for places, but basically these are the ones. And now, just to give you a little idea of the Dia de Muertos, here's a very short video. We're just going to watch it a couple of minutes. Well, 1 minute actually. Mole poblano. That was the mole that you saw. All right, so you saw a couple of words that we had learned before, the cempasúchil, for example, the flower. Yeah, it's very, very beautiful. Whenever you go to Mexico, I would highly recommend you to go in October, so mid-October, end of October. I would, for nothing in the world, would I miss this day. So I made sure that after Japan, I still get to celebrate Dia de Muertos, to be back for that. This is very, very important to me. It's a very beautiful tradition. We usually, with the people of our company, we create the altar and put pictures to celebrate our beloved ones who have passed away. All right, so Náhuatl, it's such a beautiful language. So I am not a Náhuatl pro. I wouldn't even consider myself as being a Náhuatl speaker. But I'm working on it, and I'd like to present you my teacher. So his name is Os, and he is a great artist. He is, well, almost, I'd say, like a native speaker, because he started learning Náhuatl when he was like 9 or 10, I believe. So we started working together, because if you have seen the talk just maybe 2 hours ago, I think this is something that we shouldn't forget, being polyglots, and also especially if you have a blog or a YouTube channel or something to reach people. You can inspire others also. So what can we do as polyglots? We can learn the languages, or at least a little bit, and we can talk about that, because this will raise awareness, and we will definitely inspire others to do the same. So we have created together with Os, who is the Náhuatl Pro, a method that is called Go Náhuatl. It's a video course, 10 sessions. And Os is going to tell you the rest a little bit about
Náhuatl. A mí me gusta usar una pequeña metáfora, ¿no? Como si, como mexicano, vivieras y disfrutaras este país en blanco y negro, y empiezas a ver los colores cuando aprendes una lengua indígena. Entonces cambia muchísimo la percepción. Pienso que aprender un idioma es aprender una manera de pensar la realidad. Entonces el pensamiento indígena es muy, muy peculiar y muy conciliador con el todo. Entonces, pues, creo que es un beneficio de vida. Tleka nochtin siwame juanochtin tlakame kimonekin totlakawapawalis. Intla motekpia mo tlakawapawalis tlentekpia amakin nimatisneki.
All right. So for those of you who don't speak Spanish, he said basically that knowing Spanish when you're Mexican, or also I'd even say when you're someone living in Mexico, even a foreigner like me living in Mexico, when you know Spanish, that's nice. But it's like seeing the country in black and white. This is exactly what I've experienced. The moment I started learning Náhuatl, I would like travel around and tell everyone like, oh, look, this means the place of something, the place of flowers. And everyone was like, how do you know and why? And so I think this is, again, something very important, because once you learn one of the indigenous languages, you get to understand the country from a very different perspective, which I find very, very beautiful. And then, so he says, basically, this is why it's important for people learning indigenous languages. And he says, because everyone needs a culture. And if you don't have a culture, then what do you have? Nothing, he thinks. So this cultural aspect is, I think, very important. Personally, when I choose the language that I want to learn, I choose it for cultural reasons, mostly. Yeah, this is it, basically. Welcome to the Word of Nahuatl. I hope you enjoyed this little virtual trip to Mexico. And I really hope for the future that it's not only going to be a virtual trip, but a real trip. If you want to contact me, you can do that by traveling to Popocatépetl and Iztaccíhuatl and see me there. Or also online if you want. So this is usually on Instagram, Anja from Alemania. You have my email address there, and you can also contact if you're interested in this Náhuatl course. We have a very low price for that course because the idea is of that not making money out of this, but we realized actually like giving things for free are not that appreciated usually. So we just charge something, a very, very little amount of money. If you're interested, it's explained in Spanish, so you would need to know Spanish to take the Náhuatl course. And it's called Go Náhuatl, and you can contact me or Zaloa Languages. And yeah, now open for 10 minutes of discussion. Do you have any questions? Oh yeah, thank you. The thing is often that it's often when you look for resources for indigenous languages, often dictionaries, right? And I want content, and I don't want only dictionaries. And there is one book with poems in Nahuatl, which I find very, very beautiful. And then there is one side so one page in Nahuatl, and then the other one in Spanish, which is great. But in general, I'm still disappointed when I go to one of the biggest bookshops in Mexico and ask them, hey, do you have any learning material for Nahuatl? And they say, here, we have Mandarin and we have everything. But they don't have anything for Nahuatl. So I think this is something that we still have to change. Yeah, and we can change that. I feel, and this is my observation, right? I want to make that very, very clear. This is my personal observation. So in Mexico, it is very much a difference. People, when I go to the market and when I want to practice Nahuatl, I always tell the same story that once we went with my group of Nahuatl learners to the market to practice, because you can practice every day, basically. You just go up the pyramid and yeah, you can do that. And I remember that there was one of my Mexican friends so basically there was a woman sitting on the floor, and one of my Mexican friends would say, disculpa, usted habla Nahuatl. So, sorry, do you speak Nahuatl? And she was like, no. And I was like, what's that? Like, this can't be true, because I just heard her talking to her husband in Nahuatl. So this can't be true. And then I realized this is such a barrier for them as well. So they don't want to say that they speak the language, which I find so sad. So I tried it again, and I sat down with her and I said, excuse me, but we're here from this language school and we're learning Nahuatl, and I think this language is extremely beautiful. So first of all, I appreciated the language. Maybe it's also different because I'm blonde and I'm very obvious, like I'm not Mexican. So I think that's very obvious. And so she first looked at me, and I could see in her face that she was like, what does she want? And then I was like, so would you give me the permission to tell you a sentence in Nahuatl that I have learned, and you tell me whether this is correct or not? And she was like, yeah. So I really asked her in a very polite way, would you give me the permission, instead of just saying, do you speak Nahuatl? Because then she felt like attacked almost, right? And this broke a little bit my heart, because I thought, how can this be possible, right? And obviously it has a lot of well, society reasons that I don't even want to discuss, but I just think that we can change that again here as being polyglots. And honestly, we can do a lot about this. And yeah, I just want to make this very clear again. I think it's rather a mindset question, to be honest, to first of all show them the value of their knowledge. And then second, again, what we've heard earlier today is that they don't know how to preserve the language. And I think they are very, very proud of their culture and everything. So, it's like when you have a, okay, a bit stupid this example, but when you have a company, you have people responsible for finance, for marketing, for research, for IT, right? And when you create resources, it's basically the same, right? So you take the expert in that language and you combine that with someone who has the background of maybe, how to make a course out of that or how to teach others. And then you take someone else from the marketing perspective maybe and saying like, okay, how do we show people now the value and how do we convince people that they take our courses, right? So I think it's more about this. So it's more about the mindset and the effort. That's also hard for me when you learn Nahuatl, when I go to the market, because it has so many, just Nahuatl has so many different dialects. So I go to the market and I know what I want to tell them, and then they understand me, but then when they answer, they use different words than what I had learned in class. And then I'm like, okay, I don't understand anything. But yeah, that's the fun of language learning, right? Yeah. All right, thank you very much, everyone.